So welcome to your video on crate training. Crate training has lots of advantages. Firstly, it can help with toilet training. So if we're not able to keep an eye on our puppies and we need to go and do something in the house, a brilliant area to put them is their crate or their pen area, because they're unlikely to toilet in this area. And it also means if they do have an accident, they haven't done it in the house where you don't want them to do it. In addition, it also helps to keep our puppy out of dangerous situations. So things we can't always manage, maybe cables that are hanging around in the house or your table legs, for example. So when you're not able to watch your puppy from chewing things, then you can pop them in that area also to help manage that behaviour. It's also useful to have your puppy crate trained because there are situations they may need to go into a crate at some point as well. So for example, at the vets and the groomers, some of these places will have pens or crates that your puppy may at some point need to go in. So if they are prepared for this, then it's not going to be such a scary experience for them. Crate training can also be useful in teaching our puppies to cope behind a barrier away from us. And it helps to teach them frustration tolerance, because actually if our puppies can see us behind a barrier, that could frustrate some puppies. So teaching them that it's okay to be behind that barrier is also really useful. In addition, crate training is also useful if you are going to use a crate in your car. We're going to need to make sure that they are crate trained before you travel them in a crate. What we need to bear in mind is making sure that we don't assume that our puppies are born to love a crate. At the end of the day, if they haven't been crate trained, we shouldn't just pop them in there, close the door and head on out the house or head on upstairs, because your puppy is likely going to get stressed in that situation. So each puppy is going to need a gradual build up to this if you decide to crate train. We also need to consider puppies that may have a predisposition for separation anxiety or already do have separation anxiety. Generally, separation anxiety and crates don't go well together. So if you do have a puppy that's quite anxious, home alone and not coping in the crate, maybe that isn't the right option for them. But what I do recommend you do if you want to use a crate is build it in as gradually as possible, as I'm doing on the video shortly. But if they don't take to it, you can either get in touch and ask me, or maybe it's just not right for them. So puppies that don't have separation anxiety will get accustomed to their crate relatively quickly, most likely. Yes, they might do the odd whinge and whine to want to come out. But if all of their needs have been met, such as they've been fed, they've had water, they've toileted and had a play, and if they're ready for a nap, then we can ignore those little whingers at that moment in time to see if our puppy can settle down. And note that I am absolutely not saying that we should let our puppy cry and howl in the crate if they are not happy. What I'm talking about is a puppy that is showing normal whinges and a few little grumbles and is not anxious. So how can you tell an anxious whine from a normal whine? Well, it's the persistence and the frequency that you need to keep an eye on. So if your puppy is persistently and frequently crying and howling and it's getting worse in the crate, then that's a huge sign that they are anxious, and we must not be leaving them in that area because they will not get used to it. A normal puppy will do the odd little whimper and then they will settle down very, very quickly. In addition to this, an anxious puppy will unlikely want to go into the crate, or if they do, they'll take a lot longer to warm up to the idea of the door being closed on them. So for a normal puppy, they may do a little whinge, as I've just said, and then settle down. But what will also happen is they won't do this every single time they go in the crate. So what we're looking for there is, if our puppy does do it every time they go in the crate and it escalates, they're anxious. If they don't do it every time and it's a little whinge and they settle very quickly, they are not anxious, and this is likely normal for your puppy. So these differences are key to look out for in our puppies when you start the crate training. Because as I say, if they are not happy, what you want to do is try and gradually build them up as best as possible. But some puppies unfortunately just don't take to a crate, and that is fine if they don't, but we can do our very best to try and gradually introduce it to them in the most effective way possible. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you're wanting more tips on all things puppy and how to train your puppy, then don't forget to subscribe, because there's lots more videos coming out over the upcoming months.